welcome back to the Leaner, Stronger and Confident as Fuck podcast. This is another episode in the Level Up series where I am taking you behind the scenes of my photo shoot prep. So we're now at week 14 of this prep. And when I started doing these series, I was saying it is whatever week we were on, of 30, because I thought it was going to be a 30-week prep. But that time frame has actually been shortened because I was going to do it in June in line with my 43rd birthday. But me and my coach have decided to bring it forward because he thinks I'm going to be ready earlier than it. And I'm also excited to have reversed out of the fat loss phase and be a little bit closer to maintenance by the time my birthday rolls round. So it's going to be in May. So I'm just going to stop saying that it's week whatever of the total amount of weeks because the date that it's happening keeps shifting a little bit. But what I do know is I'm week 14 of when I started. So that is how I'm going to keep track of it. But I do think we are over halfway through this prep, which is quite exciting. And today I want to talk about something that is happening right now that is going to be relevant for anyone who is trying to stay consistent with their goals to create a leaner, more toned physique, and then life throws a curveball at you. So I am currently packing up my house and I am going off to Australia for 3 months and I leave a week on Sunday. So if you are watching the video of this on Spotify or on YouTube, then you will see behind me that I have boxes behind me packed. I don't have anywhere else to put them right now, so they are just in the background here, part of the furniture or the backdrop for this live. And I didn't anticipate having to move again, or choosing to move again, I should say, because it's definitely a choice during this photo shoot prep. And that's the irony of all of this, really, because I'd been wanting to do a photo shoot prep for a long time. It's a personal goal that I have wanted to set myself to really take my physique to a level that I've never taken it before. And over the last few years, my husband Joe and I have moved around a lot. We have done a few nomad trips. We bounced back and forth between the UK and Australia because we wanted to spend time with our family and friends over in the UK, but we also love Australia. That's a story for another day. We've moved loads in the last few years. And so it was never the right time to commit to a prep that I knew was going to require me to really kind of level up my standards and to really just be even more focused on my nutrition and training. And yet, as soon as I got to the UK, which was a few months ago now, I was like, right, I'm pretty sure we're going to be here for maybe even up to a year. And so I am going to just commit to this goal and I'm going to do it now. And I decided to commit to it, started this process, and then we are now moving to Australia for a few months. Why we're doing it is a story for another day, but suffice to say, we're very excited to go back to Australia for the next 3 months. And because we have lived in Australia for most of the last 15 years, my husband and I, we are going to somewhere in Australia and to a part of Sydney on the northern beaches, which we know very, very well. I'm not going traveling. I'm going there. I'm going to be picking up my routine as soon as I get there. So the disruption is not as huge as, for example, sometimes when I've moved countries in the past and I feel like I've had to pack up my entire life. I mean, I am. You can see it behind me. I'm packing up all my stuff right now, but it's just going to go into storage. In the grand scheme of my moves, this is like less major than other ones I've done in the past. But still, I was not anticipating having to do this in the middle of the photo shoot prep, and especially while I had started the fat loss part of it. But, you know, this is what happens. You decide to do something and then life sometimes has other plans. And that's the thing about transformation, is that there is never going to be a time in anyone's life where, you know, you have the most perfect conditions to be able to achieve your goal. There are definitely better times than others. When I was traveling to Romania and Serbia in the past couple of years, and we went to Albania and Portugal, and we were doing nomad trips around there, they were not the times of my life where I wanted to commit to a prep like this, because I wanted to enjoy eating out loads. And you just can't get great results if you're eating out as much as I was on those nomad trips for getting leaner and more toned. And so they definitely weren't the right times, but there was never going to be a perfect time to go for a goal. And so you also just need to be decisive about what you're committed to. Make the best possible judgment that you can about when you're going to go for a particular goal. If the goal is fat loss, that requires much more specificity than, for example, when you're going to do just a maintenance phase or a build phase where you've got more calories to play with. But then also, once the ball is rolling, sometimes you just need to commit to it and decide that you are going to make it work no matter what. And so I am plowing on with my goal, and I want to share with you some ways that I'm navigating it as I also move and pack up my life around it. Because it is how you handle the moments where life doesn't go to plan, where things do change, where something crops up unexpected, that can really make the difference between you actually getting results or just ending up kind of feeling like you are constantly spinning your wheels. So I've got a few things that I wanted to share with you around how I'm moving through this period. But I also wanted to give you a little recap before we dive into it of exactly where my targets are at right now. I said I wanted to be completely transparent about everything that was going on my photo shoot prep. And so, yes, of course, you need to kind of be aware that the calories and macros and stuff that I'm sharing are independent to me. They are individual and unique to my goal and to my physique of where it's at right now. But this just gives you an idea of the things that I am doing so that you can just get a sense of what's involved, because a lot of people hide, the calories that they end up being on or the macros and things, partly because they're worried people will copy them and think that they should work for them. But I just want to be transparent because I find it really annoying when people hide it. So what I'm currently doing right now is, when it comes to my calories and my macros, I am tracking all 3 macros. And this is something that I've started doing for this photo shoot prep that I wasn't doing when I was doing lifestyle transformation for my own journey in the last few years. I was just tracking calories and protein then. But on my 4 training days at the moment, I have higher calorie days to give me more energy, to be able to fuel my training, to be able to maintain as much muscle mass as possible through this process. So those are currently sitting at 1,885 calorie days, and that's made up of 150 grams of protein, 220 grams of carbs, and 45 grams of fat. And then I have 3 lower days, which I do cardio on those days, and they are 1,675 calories, 150 grams of protein, 145 grams of carbs, and 55 grams of fat. And so every week, that's what I have right now. And we have just started moving into a fat loss phase. So I've been in fat loss for about 3 weeks now. And before that, I was in a bit of a body recomp phase. And before that, I was in a primer phase where my calories were at maintenance. And so the calories have dropped slightly on my higher days recently. And I still feel great because I still feel like I've got plenty of calories to play with, which is awesome. And on my training side, I'm doing 4 strength sessions a week. I do 2 upper, 2 lower body sessions. And I'm also doing 3 cardio sessions, which are currently 53 minutes each, which is very specific. But this is because I was doing 4 cardio sessions of 40 minutes. And without getting into the details of why we changed this one, because it will just be too long-winded, we've changed it to 3 cardio sessions a week instead of slightly longer, just while I go through this transition of moving, so that I don't have to do basically one day of being at the gym for about 2 hours. So I'm still hitting 12,000 steps a day. That hasn't changed for the entirety of the last 14 weeks. I'm still not drinking any alcohol. That was definitely something that I knew was going to be appropriate for the level of result that I wanted, and that drinking any alcohol was just not going to help. But I made that decision without even talking to my coach. Before I started this prep, I was like, I'm not drinking alcohol for the whole prep. And I am still eating according to a meal plan the majority of the time, which is I eat 5 times a day. And it's all pretty much like whole foods. And I have shared exactly what I'm eating on my Instagram page at Kathy Morton Fitness. So you're welcome to go and check that out and scroll back through the post there. And I'm trying to aiming to keep my meals out to 1 to 2 a week. And at the minute, to be honest, the meals that I am having out, I'm pretty much just going out for breakfast, if that, because it's so much easier to track breakfast because I pretty much just have poached eggs on toast, and you can't really go that wrong with tracking poached eggs on toast. And so we're over halfway through this prep. The scale is dropping consistently now, and measurements are also going down, but the scale isn't dropping by a lot each week. Again, I've been sharing the details of this on my Instagram, but it's only going down by about an average of about 300 grams a week. But with the level of where my physique is at, the fact that we're really focusing on the training quality and that we're not pushing like the deficit too much right now in fat loss, that is a good rate of progress. And again, so many people have a skewed idea of what a good rate of progress is. But when I recently tried on lots of my clothes, because I've been packing, because I was trying to figure out what I want to take to Australia, loads of them are so much looser on me now. And so there's been a significant change in the last 14 weeks, which again, if you go to my Instagram, you'll be able to see some visuals of that too. So I'm moving to Australia for 3 months. I am currently packing things up, saying goodbye to my friends, to my family, just for a few months. I'll be back very soon. But I'm sorting through a bunch of belongings, taking things into storage, coordinating a bunch of logistics, doing the booking and the admin of stuff that comes with leaving home and, going overseas. And in the middle of all of that, I'm still staying on track with all of my targets. Those 4 training sessions, the 3 cardio sessions, the 12,000 steps, the meal plan, tracking everything. And the only way I'm able to do that is by being really bloody organized. And this is something that I will say over and over and over again. In order to achieve your best physique, you need to focus on doing the fundamentals really, really, really well. And by fundamentals, I mean making sure you are strength training, eating enough protein, eating mostly whole foods, getting enough steps, drinking enough water, sleeping well, managing your stress, and prioritizing protein, doing those basics really, really well on repeat. And the only way to do that is to be really focused on planning and organization, and to know that in order to achieve your goal, the level of planning and organization and focus is going to be different to when you're in a maintenance phase at a later point. And so we need to just kind of make our peace with that if we want the end result, and to focus on instead how we can actually work our life to make those goals happen instead. Because, moving countries, there's a lot of parts to juggle. And so it's even more important that I'm focused on having a plan for each week so that I can hit those targets. Because there would have been a version of me in the past that would have just said, oh, you know what? It's fine. I'm just going to put things on pause for a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll just kind of pick it back up when I get to Australia. But I'm in such a good groove with it. And that thought hasn't even entered my mind. It's like, nope, I'm making this goal happen now. I have committed to it. And it's about instead figuring out how I'm going to get it done. So the first thing that I did, as soon as this goal, or as soon as this plan changed that I was going to be going back to Australia for a bit, the first thing I did was talk to my coach about it as soon as this move became a possibility. And that is the most important thing for you to do if you also have something come up like this and you're working with a coach. Speak to them as early as possible so that you can make a plan together. So we have not left things to the last minute at all. We have been planning ahead. He's been very aware of the decision from the beginning. And I have been thinking ahead of time about how I'm going to navigate the next few weeks so that I can stick to the targets. And it's already planned out in my diary when I'm going to do my training, when I'm going to get my cardio happening. The steps I just will make happen around all the different things I do, during the day. That's just something that is kind of such a part of my life. I know it'll happen anyway. And I am getting up earlier to make sure that it's happening. And when it comes down to my targets, I did also say to him, because of this week of moving out, I'm going to be moving into my mother-in-law's for a couple of days. And, there's a day where we're like packing up furniture and moving it and all of those things. I did just say to him, please, can we just not drop calories any further than where they're at? Because I can manage it on exactly where I'm at, but any lower than that, then I just anticipated me perhaps being really fatigued and really hungry. And then, maybe I'd struggle to stick to it, for example. So again, I communicated that with him. We talked about how there was no need to drop things anyway because everything's progressing really well. And I was like, I'm happy to take a diet break if needed so that then we can navigate this and do it in a way that then allows me to continue to keep the progress as we go through the travel over the next week. But with the current calories as they are, I'm happy to navigate everything. It just is going to take a little bit of planning, and that's it. So if you have a coach yourself on your own journey, bring them into the conversation early. Tell them what is happening if you have something come up that changes your plans. Ask for their input and then adjust the plan together. And if you don't have a coach, be your own coach and look ahead at what's coming. Anticipate any challenges that you have coming up and make a plan for how you're going to navigate them. This is how you end up not just hoping things will work, not just winging it, but actually making sure that you can navigate it successfully too. And then I have already got everything mapped out in my diary. And one of the things that I did in the last few days, in fact, was I went up to my parents to see them for a few days because obviously I won't see them for the next few months. So I wanted to spend some time with them. And I have told them about this goal that I'm working on like a few months ago. And so they've been well aware of it from the beginning. It's like I'm not quite sure how fully they understand exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing, but they are supportive. And so I did say to them, I was like, I am, at a point in my prep where I don't want to just eat, whatever is put in front of me. And normally when I go up to visit them, I do just, enjoy whatever my mum cooks. She cooks very healthily anyway, but I just kind of like, I will eat whatever it is that they're making. And I said to them before I went up, I was like, I cannot do that this time. I'm at this point in my prep where I need to be really focused. I want to bring my food with me. I will eat at the same times as you, but I'm going to bring my meals with me. So I did a whole bunch of meal prep before I went, took it all up on the train with me in cool bags, made a little bit more of it when I was there. And they were, again, completely fine with that because, again, I communicated it beforehand. And I want to share that because for a start, so many people don't think that it's even an option for them to consider. They don't want to be difficult, or they don't want to feel like they're, being high maintenance or, disrupt a tradition or something, when it comes to spending time with their family. But then they can end up in situations where they find it hard to stay on track because they're not communicating what is most important to them, and then feel frustrated at the results that they have maybe not been able to achieve, or just feeling like they weren't staying as true to themselves as they could have done in that process. And again, it's like, if you communicate to whoever it is, whether it's a family member or partner or something, exactly what you're doing and how important it is to you, then it's so much easier for them to support you and to get on board with the process too. And so I wasn't going to, not spend time with them at mealtime, but I was just bringing my own food, and that's it. And so the most important thing was for us to spend time together, and we did that, and we enjoyed meals together, and it was literally made no difference to them that I made my own food next to them as well. And I just love as well, like when I go up to see my parents, everyone knows kind of how important it is to me to go for a walk. My mum really likes walking too. So she's always like, are we going for a walk in the afternoon? She's like, how many steps do you need to get in? And we go for as long a walk as we need so that I can finish my steps. And then even though I'm very happy to walk in the morning to go to the gym, my mum likes to drive me to the gym. It makes me feel like a kid again. So my mum takes me to the gym in the morning, and then I walk back to again get more steps in later in that day. And it's just a routine that we have there. And it's something that we've developed over the years. Even before I was on this photo shoot prep, I was always still training when I was there, still interested in going for a walk. But if I was on a normal fat loss phase, I would still control some of the meals when I was there. Because for you, maybe if you are doing a lifestyle fat loss phase and you are not looking to do one, something as quite as focused as this photo shoot prep that I'm doing, then maybe you do eat the dinner that you have with your family, but you focus on controlling the meals that you can control. If it's easier for you to make your own lunch and your own breakfast, then do that so that you can track those effectively, or ask for just a change to something in the evening meal so that you can hit your targets more easily. All about communication at the end of the day, and a little bit of planning. And then the last thing that I've really been focused on is just controlling what I can control. So when your routine is disrupted and your environment is changing, such as, moving out of somewhere. I'm going to be doing a 24-hour flight in just over a week. It can be really easy to think, oh, well, I'll just put everything on pause and I'll just eat whatever's at the airport, or I will just, I've had lots of clients say to me, oh, I'm going on, on a flight today, so I'm not going to be able to hit my steps. And I always say to them, how do you know? Why don't you try? Why, instead of just presuming that you're not going to be able to do something, actually ask yourself, how can I make it work instead? And the clients of mine who do get the best results, that is one of the key questions that they ask themselves. They always ask for my help in how they can make it happen, rather than just saying, oh, this has happened external to me, so therefore I'm not going to be able to do it. This is such a key difference in being able to hit your goals. So normally when I do go on the 24-hour flight to Australia or back again, I do normally have plain food, mainly because I'm not normally trying to navigate a fat loss phase in the time that I'm doing it. And often because it's just a faff to bring food for a 24-hour flight when I've typically in the past been moving with loads and loads of luggage. But because I'm only going for 3 months, my luggage is not that big. And because I am in this specific phase of the cut, I am going to be approaching this differently. And so I'm going to be taking food with me on the plane, and I'm not going to be having the plain food just this time. So I'm going to be taking things like biltong, which I absolutely love, super high protein and easy to take on a plane. I'm going to take some almonds, and I'm going to take some apples. I'm going to drink lots of water. I always drink the black coffee and tea on the plane. I'm not going to be drinking alcohol anyway. And to be honest, that's probably going to get me through the flight. I always try and sleep as much as possible as well. So I am going to be focusing on taking more control of my nutrition on the plane because of this prep. And then on the day that I land, we're arriving, I think, in the morning and then getting to our accommodation in the afternoon. And on that day, I'm not going to be sticking to my meal plan. I'm not going to be just focusing on calories and protein. I'm going to be tracking my food still and still getting my macros in on the day that I land. But it's just not going to be following a meal plan. It's going to be, with going to the supermarket, making some choices that I'm going to plan ahead of time. But I haven't done that one day just yet. And so I'm also, on the day that I arrive, going to be joining a gym. And I will probably be doing some cardio on the day that I arrive as well. This is something that, to be honest, I would probably want to do even if I wasn't on this prep, because I like moving my body once I have landed after a 24-hour flight. And my cardio is just steady state. It will be good to probably just kind of get some of the fluid out of my body as well. So I drink loads of water, get some movement in, make sure I go for a walk along the beach, because it will be in Sydney, and I'm very excited for that. And I'm going to be focusing on, I know exactly the gym that I'm going to be joining as well. That's already planned out because we have lived in that area before. But when I was doing nomad trips, my husband and I would always be choosing accommodation based on where the gym was. We would be looking at that ahead of time, and we would always know exactly where we were going to be joining as soon as we landed. So all it takes is just a bit of planning, a bit of prioritization, and a bit of intention. And I will definitely still be getting as many steps as I can. Obviously, when I'm sitting on a plane for 24 hours, there is a limit to how many times I can walk up and down the plane. But I always try and move my body as much as possible. I always move around the airport when I'm there, just because I don't just want to sit down for 24 hours. And I will just do the best I can in that 24-hour period. But I will be getting steps in before I fly, steps in on the day that I land as well. And then as soon as I've done a grocery shop, which we will do on the afternoon of the day that we land, I will just be eating my meal plan again from the day after. So I'm not going to be giving myself several days to get back into it. I am just going to be continuing as planned as soon as I land. And this is going to be pretty easy for me to do because, one, like I said, I've lived in this area before. I know exactly where the supermarket is. I know, the area very, very well. And it's also just going to be easy because I've decided it's going to be so. So we don't need to overcomplicate these things. And if you have a good routine, then it's quite easy to pick it up no matter where in the world you are. And because I have had a solid routine, despite moving around so much in the last few years, this is something that I just know I can make work with a bit of prioritization. And then the last thing I wanted to share on this is that we also do have to be realistic about what is achievable. You can really focus on planning. You can focus on giving it, your best prioritization possible. And also, if my coach was going to try and drop calories further and make things even more aggressive over the next week that I'm moving, I think that might be a bit unrealistic for me to be able to navigate. And I would be communicating that and sharing that with him. As it is, with the current calories as they are, because my calories are actually pretty decent at the moment, then I think it's definitely doable to be able to still hit my targets. But otherwise, a diet break would be an option where you just bring your calories up to your maintenance in a fat loss phase to be able to give yourself that mental and physical break. That's not something that we're going to do because we don't think is needed, but it is always a tool that you have up your sleeve. But a diet break is not something where you just go as a free-for-all and do whatever you want for that week. You still want to be focused on the foundations, on fueling your body well with the right amount of nutrients, and on prioritizing your health in the process. But ultimately, we have to be aware that if we have a goal, it's going to require us doing things that are inconvenient at times and that are, challenging to navigate. And if we let every kind of bump in the road, every challenge derail us from our goal, then it's going to be very tough to be able to get the results that you want. Because, taking my own food when I visited my parents, did I really want to do that? No. Would I have done it in a lifestyle fat loss phase? Not to that extent. Getting up earlier to fit in the gym before I move and before I've done all of this packing and everything, it's a bit, it's not what I want to do right now, but I'm prepared to do it. Going straight to the gym pretty much like that afternoon once I've landed after a 24-hour flight. Do I really, really want to do it? Not massively, but I'm going to do it anyway because it is something that is really, really important to me. Because if you only do the things when they are convenient, it's going to be hard for you to get that level of result that most people say that they want, but many people are not willing to do. And there is so many times when way that I'm navigating this now would have been so much harder for me because I hadn't established such a solid foundation of my routine or had as much practice of moving countries and being able to adapt my routine. So wherever you're at in your journey, just know that anything can get better with practice. It just takes some planning and the desire to make it a priority. And yes, there are better times to do fat loss phases than when you're moving country, but there are also times when sometimes you just have to make things work anyway. So there you have it. The biggest hacks for achieving your goals are doing the foundations on repeat and also doing some planning to make sure they're happening. And if you struggle to be able to stick to something because of a season of your life, that's when having a coach and communicating with them what you need to navigate is one of the best things that you can do, because then you can have the support to work your way through it with someone else. So I hope that gives you some ideas of how you can navigate anything that comes up in a fat loss phase or whatever phase you might be in of your transformation journey. And so if you're enjoying this series, the Level Up series, there will be more episodes to come on this series as I get through the last few weeks of my prep. Maybe about 12 weeks left of it now, which is very exciting. But then on the other side of that, it's not going to be done either. I'm going to be reversing out of it to get to a level where I am able to maintain. And then I'm going to see where I want to take things next. Maybe it is going to be a building phase. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to assess that once I've also seen the results of this current phase that I'm in. So if you're ready as well to stop trying to figure this out on your own and work with a coach who's going to help you navigate the messy, imperfect, real life side of transformation, then apply for coaching as well with the links in the show notes here, or you can send me a DM on Instagram and let's chat. Thanks so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you on the next one.